set.
Yes, sir.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're happy to be here, of course. We're joined by Sheriff Harder and County Clerk Mihalko. We're talking today about pistol permit recertification and the issues surrounding that particular issue that is coming up. The deadline is very fastly approaching. I will say this, that of course the SAFE Act was enacted before I was elected, but I've been very clear about my position on the SAFE Act. I think that there are portions of the SAFE Act, of course, that I agree with. Enhanced penalties for crimes against first responders, mental health provisions, so on and so forth. Those are pieces that I agree with. However, it is a flawed law. It is a law that was enacted in the darkness of night without any ability for people at large in the community to speak about this issue and weigh in. So the SAFE Act has created a lot of issues. Unfortunately, during its enactment, it created criminals out of law-abiding citizens when it was first enacted. And my fear, along with the sheriffs and the county clerks, not only here in Broome County, but throughout this great state, is coming up on the deadline for recertification. We're going to see another scenario just like that, where people, if they don't recertify, potentially could become criminals again overnight. So from a statewide perspective, I just want to talk a little bit about numbers. As of January 2nd, only 230,000 people statewide had recertified. There are 1.2 million people in the state that are pistol permit holders, and only 230,000 people have recertified. So that is highly problematic. So my colleagues and I at the state level in the Senate have joined forces, and we are calling on Governor Cuomo to extend the deadline for pistol permit recertifications, which will allow a little bit more time for the county clerks and the sheriffs throughout this great state to adequately deal with this particular issue. So my hope is that the governor will listen to us. My colleagues, again, across the state are talking about this and encouraging the governor to do the same. There's still an incredible amount of confusion surrounding recertification. So while the sheriff will talk about this specifically, none of us at the state level are encouraging people not to recertify. We're encouraging people to do that, but we want people at large to know that we are standing together and encouraging people to make sure they recertify, but yet we're doing our part at the state level to ensure the governor understands the problems associated with this deadline that is fast approaching. With that, Sheriff Harder.
Well, basically, the sheriffs of the state of New York were basically against most of the provisions of the Safe Gun Act, again, because it was so quickly done. No law enforcement people were involved in it at all. And of course, the governor does not like sheriffs because we're independently elected and he can't control us. And what caused there is that he eliminated us. We're not even involved in the Safe Act. The county clerks are. All notifications go to them. We don't get any from them. And a number of the sheriffs throughout the state do all the pistol permit work, the same as we do here in Broome County. The county clerk doesn't, but there are clerks in the state to do. We are assisting the best we can with people, trying to explain to them that they should recertify and to go ahead and do it. And if they have questions, we're trying to help them out, and we're giving them phone numbers and websites to call the state police to do it in. I will say that in our county, there's probably roughly at least 14,000 people that have to recertify by the end of this month, and I don't see that happening. It's been a long period of time, and we only got about maybe 6,000 people that have done it. And we don't want these people to become criminals, because that's what the governor's making them become. By not recertifying, their permits will not be valid anymore, so they'll be holding on to weapons illegally. It'll be up to the district attorney of Broome County to prosecute those people from there. My stance with it is the fact that what is the governor doing to the people that are illegally possessing weapons? Not the innocent people. He's put a whole bunch of burden on the people that are innocent people that have done what they've had to do, had their backgrounds done, and legally done getting their permit. But actual people, criminals on the street, are being let go because he doesn't enforce the law on that. We encourage you again, please recertify. If you have questions on how to do it, feel free to call us at 778-2113. That's our Pistol Bureau. Okay? Joe,
No comments? I would just offer that at the state level, I support a full repeal of the SAFE Act. I think that the rights of gun owners throughout this great state are being trampled on continuously. This is yet another prime example of that. I support a full repeal of the SAFE Act, and then I support a reasonable and responsible conversation about gun control with all parties, with all stakeholders who are involved in this particular issue. So there is, of course, a lot of resistance to a full repeal by members of the Assembly. It's dominated by New York City members, as you all well know, but we will continue to protect the rights of law-abiding gun owners throughout this great state. Any questions?
Do you feel that, and obviously, depending on how you talk about this, you mentioned that you aren't advocating for them to recertify, but do you think that, to recertify this often does actually make people safer?
No, I don't see why. I mean, they're already holding their permits. Their guns are already listed. They're already listed with Albany. What's the advantage to it? Where's it going? I don't see any, myself, I don't see it where it's any advantage to the state.
Look, you're creating another hurdle for law-abiding gun owners. The sheriffs and the county clerks throughout the state already maintain a database of pistol permit holders, right? That currently happens. They have to keep them updated. If they don't, then the sheriff and the county clerks work to ensure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But there's, I think, a great fear amongst law-abiding gun owners throughout this state. Why now are the state police involved in something like this? Are they creating another database with all gun owner information? Like, why are they doing that? That's already happening. You talk about duplicitous. This certainly is duplicitous, and it puts a burden on law-abiding gun owners.
Do you think it also puts a burden on state police too, that they have to kind of work on this instead of doing their kind of day-to-day operations?
Look, I'll defer to the sheriff. I mean, I have an opinion about that, but Sheriff, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the state gave them more personnel to work on this. I mean, down the line someplace, as far as having to go out and pick up people's guns and so forth, yes, it'll put a burden on them, I'm sure. And I think not only the burden of going to go get those weapons, but the storing of them and what they're going to do with them in the future.
I would have certainly liked to see a portion of the state police's appropriation in their budget go to put more troopers on the street, right, to keep communities throughout this state safe, rather than create another unit within the state police to deal with this particular issue.
I think when Jim had talked to you, when you had mentioned the recertification a few days ago, you mentioned that state police would have to enforce this, but then you said that district attorney would have to enforce it. How does the enforcement break down?
Well, the enforcement part is that it will become a crime, and then the district attorney will have to prosecute that crime. As far as doing the revocations like that, I said, don't send them to me. Send them to the state police. They're the ones involved in this. Remember, the governor cut the sheriffs right out of this program. Want nothing to do with it because we disagreed with him on how this was done and wouldn't listen to any of our suggestions on some of the changes that should be done.